Things just got worse and worse and worse as the night went on. Again, valiant effort down the stretch for the Bucks. Just too little, too late. Let's go down and let's see what Coach Fletch and the rest of the crew has to say. And as always, go Bulls. So let's head into the locker room right now and see what the guys have to say about that one. Wow. Where do the Buccaneers go from here? What an incredible atmosphere. What a good win for the Tampa Bay Lightning. They snapped a 7-game winning streak. How we feeling, Bucs Nation? It's time to party, baby.
All right, let's get this thing rolling. What is going on, everybody? Happy Thursday, December 18th. We are a week away from Christmas. Can you believe it? I can't. Where did 2025 go? Wow, unbelievable. 2 shows left of the year right here on the Recher podcast. I appreciate all the love and the support over this entire season. Again, tomorrow, the top 20 sports stars of Tampa Bay. Man, the votes are coming in, and it is going to be a race for number one, the number one spot atop the top 20 sports stars of Tampa Bay. Should be a fun one. We are live here at Benchmark International Arena ahead of the Lightning's matchup with the Los Angeles Kings tonight. Make sure you follow me on all social media platforms, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Twitch, TikTok, Instagram. Like and subscribe on YouTube as well. We are close to 2,000 subscribers, man. We are inching. We are less than 40 away. So please share this on your social media. Let your friends, your family, your dentist, your mailman, your flight attendants, your travel agents, let everybody know. Subscribe to the Recher podcast right here on the YouTube channel, whether you're watching on Facebook, YouTube, or Twitter. I appreciate all the support, but we need to get 2,000 subscribers by the end of the year. All right, so it's a Thursday. You know what that means. Dr. Carlos Rodriguez is going to join us for the final time this season for the Evara Health Injury Report. It's been such a great segment on the program this year. So happy for our partners at Evara Health. Again, go to everhealth.org. 17 different locations in Pinellas County. We want to make sure that, we're helping people out. This is really, really good stuff. And especially with our Evara Health Injury Report with Dr. Rod every Thursday at 12:30. Every day, Eddie Encina is going to join us at 1:30 to talk all things Lightning. What do we see at Morning Skate? I'll get to that here momentarily, but we'll take a deep dive with him and also talk, of course, a little John Cena as well. We'll talk some Bucks. We'll talk some USF. We touch on a little bit of everything on the program today. USF losing in the Cure Bowl to Old Dominion. It is what it is. Kind of time to move on. That's my sentiment when it comes to USF. Time to move on. It is a new day for South Florida. And with Brian Hartline, it's just, we'll get into that a little bit later on, 1 o'clock today. I always want to hear from you. Questions, comments, concerns, leave them there at the bottom of the screen. If you want to join in via the video chat, whether you're on your phone, whether you're on your laptop, you can do that as well. Here is the link. You can just click on the link right there in the chat, StreamYard.com/7KT77B2VQ4. If you don't want to punch that in manually, just click on the link right there in the chat, again, on your phone or on your laptop, and you could join in on the conversation. Appreciate you, Benny. Janet Best in the house. Go Bolts as well. DT, go Bolts. Vazzy back, baby. Jaybird FedEx is testing my skills today. My man, the Lightning will get their season back on track tonight, Benny says. Matchup with the LA Kings after what happened on Monday night against the Florida Panthers. Usually it's a Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday affair for the Bolts for the NHL season. That's usually the schedule that we see this week. Monday, Thursday, Saturday. So a little bit of a different schedule this week. So hopefully those 2 days would be good for guys like Brandon Hagel and Ryan McDonough and Andre Vasilevsky. More on that in a bit. Very excited for the top 20 sports stars at Tampa Bay. We pulled so many different members of the Tampa Bay media, and having the discussion last night, it's going to be it's a real close race to the finish. And I cannot wait to see who's going to be number one in our list. We've had some crazy number ones over the years, whether it was Steven Stamkos or Nikita Kucherov for Tom Brady. We'll see who is number one this year. Our guy Greg DeCruz from down there in Costa Rica. Bucks score 31 points in each of their next 3 games and win 31-30 in all 3. It has been that type of season. Yes, I mean, that's people keep asking me about the Buccaneers, and I was just talking to Nigel Kerwin, the Lightning video coach. Just don't know what to expect with the Bolts, man. You really don't. You think you know. You think you know about the Bolts. You have an idea of what's going on, and then the game starts, and it's completely opposite of what you think. That's why they play the game. But we'll talk about why there's no excuses and why it's time for Josh Grizzard to step up a little bit later on here in the program. But let's start with some of the information from morning skate today here at Benchmark International Arena. And listen, when you get a message early today that it is an optional skate, you know that not many people are going to be on the ice. And then after that, you get a message that we're not going to hear from head coach John Cooper until 5:30 today. That means Coop's not in the building. So Coop took the morning off. And it is what it is. So what do we read into Coop not being here? Nothing. But there were 6 people on the skate today, or 6 skaters, 2 goalies. The emergency backup goalie, Kyle Konen, Jonas Johansson, and then 3 defensemen, Declan Carlisle, Ryan McDonough, and Max Crozier, and then 3 forwards, Curtis Douglas, Dominic James, and Gage Gonsalves. What that tells us is that with Scott Sabrin and Steven Santini being sent down, that there's only 6 defensemen up here. So Ryan McDonough is going to be back in the lineup tonight. I mean, it's just math. Unless there's a call up here in the next couple hours, which there very well could be. But Mac's been skating more and more. He looked very comfortable out there today. First guy on the ice. And Ed Encina and I were talking about this before. It's going to be JJ Moser and Darren Radish. Keep those 2 guys together. Then you'll have Ryan McDonough probably playing with Max Crozier. And then the third will probably be Declan Carlisle and Charlotte Ward-Destu. That'll probably be your 6. Those are only 6 offensive guys we have in there. Now, a lot of people want to know what the deal is with Brandon Hagel. Now, Brandon Hagel out again after the game the other night. He was day-to-day with a head injury. They kept him off the ice yesterday for practice. But the one thing that really stands out to me is when we went into the locker room on Monday night after the game, Brandon Hagel was still out there. And if a guy leaves for a concussion, like, you don't see them anywhere near the media. They're in a dark room somewhere, or he was still around. So that tells me that it might not be as bad as we originally thought. And him not practicing is just maybe a precautionary. So we'll see if he's in the lineup, because it was him and Gage Gonsalves kind of switching off in their spots. That's what Ed was telling me from practice yesterday. I think Dominic James will probably be on that 4th line. So let's just say Hagel's in. He'll probably be a game time decision. We'll find out again from John Cooper at 5:30 today. But it will probably be Sorelli, Hagel, Kucherov, Point, Gensel, Bjorkstrand, Gord, Gergensons, and Holmberg. And then the 4th line of Douglas, Nick Paul, and probably Dominic James. It'll be James or Gonsalves, but I think it would probably be James. And if Hagel can't go, Gonsalves will probably be in. If Hagel can go, Gonsalves will probably be out. So not many guys, now that some of these guys have been sent down to AHL Syracuse, here with the club. We're not going to have 3 or 4 scratches. And again, Brandon Halverson got sent down as well. So he gets sent down, and no Vazzy on the ice today. Would I be surprised if Vazzy sat out one more game and didn't play until Saturday? No, but I think he's probably ready to go. So if I was a betting man, I think that I think there's in the order of if they're going to play or not, McDonough, I think, is in. I think Vazzy and Hagel are probably tied. I think those 2 guys could be in. Probably not a definite. And we'll see who leads the Lightning onto the ice tonight. And again, we'll find out from John Cooper a little bit later on. Not thrilled with how the Lightning played against the Florida Panthers. And if you missed our chat with Eric Erlinson yesterday, he said the Cats have no honor. They have no code. Yeah, I mean, this thing is not over. And when Matthew Tkachuk comes back, I think it's going to add just another element that we haven't seen quite yet. The Panthers are in their heads. I don't care what anybody says. They are. They just don't play the same way. And you look at the defensive structure, what the Lightning have been doing the last couple of weeks, how well that they've been playing defensively. You didn't see that against the Florida Panthers. So, yes, I do think that they're in their head. I do. Somehow, some way, I think they're in their head. Can they fix it? Can they change it? Of course they can. They're the Lightning. They can do that. But it starts tonight. Got to get back to munching points, getting back to top of the Atlantic Division and playing strong hockey, but it starts on the defensive side of the ice. Oh, look at Eric Erlinson sending in his top 10. Atta boy, Double E. You're the man. Shout out to our guy, Eddie. Jay, keep killing it. Be back with you tomorrow. Thank you, buddy. I appreciate you very, very much. In your head. I see you, Benny. Question from Greg DeCruz. If Trent Cooper did a similar thing with your career, what 3 stories would make the cut? Wow. Trent, really good question, buddy. Okay. When it comes to my career, I would have to go number 1 would be the Lightning first boat parade. Because remember, that was the first boat parade. There was no parameters. We didn't know what the hell was going on. It was the longest of the 3 boat parades. We went back to Raymond James that night. That was Kucherov going crazy, Maroon going crazy. I was on Vazzy's boat because the Russians want to be together. So me and Greg Allman and Eric Erlinson, we were on our own boat. That was one of the craziest days of my entire life. And my career was just nuts. That's in there. Let's see. Probably being here for the Stanley Cup final when the Lightning won the cup. That day I was not feeling too good, and I was in the auxiliary press box, so I was kind of in there with the stands, and I couldn't move, and that was the night of Nikita Kucherov saying the number 1 bullshit, which was good. That was such a fun night. And then number 3 has to be the Buccaneers winning the Super Bowl, being in the crowd, again, with the auxiliary press box, sitting in the stands in the south end zone, being in the same row as the late, great Mark Cook and looking over at him, lifelong Bucs fan, as the confetti rained down less than a year from, when he would pass. So, yeah, I guess those are 3 in order. The Lightning boat parade, the first one, watching the Lightning win the Stanley Cup here, and then watching the Buccaneers win the Super Bowl at Raymond James Stadium. Because you remember, there wasn't a lot of people that were allowed in the building there at Ray J, right? It was like half capacity because we were dealing with the whole COVID stuff, and I was the lone representative from WDAE to go there and cover the game for the team. And it meant the world to be able to be there and to see how many first responders there. It was just a different time. It's a different time, man. It really was. It's still crazy, right? I'm sure I'm saying that to a lot of people. We didn't know what the world was going to be like. We didn't know if things would ever get back to normal, right? And as we watched the Raise the Flags documentary, and then like we sit here, we saw 3 championships in here, but we weren't in the locker room for any of them, which is kind of, yeah, we'll take them. But you hear stories over the years of media members being in the locker room when a team wins the Stanley Cup or a team wins the Super Bowl and champagne on their head. We didn't get any of that here in the Tampa Bay area. When the Buccaneers won, we were doing, they were celebrating on the field, but then celebrating in the locker room. And, there was people up in the press box, and I was in the stands with my headphones on doing the post-game press conferences. Same thing with the Lightning. They won their first one up north of the border over the Dallas Stars. And I was back at the studio. And then when they won the one here, I was up in the stands watching Nikita Kucherov. And while everybody was like talking smiles, let's just go celebrate. It was fun, but you celebrated and you were able to take part of it from afar. So that's why I'm hoping that in the next couple of years, as I'm here in the Tampa Bay sports media, they win another cup so we can be in the locker room, at least for one of those damn things. But especially the Lightning, man. I was thinking about that last night. It'd be great if they were able to come back, play the right way, bring Steven Stamkos back at some point, and just have like this dramatic run to the Stanley Cup and win the cup one more time with this group, with Cooper and Vazzy and Hedman and Cooch and Stammer and Mac. And I mean, how great would that be? And then be able to win it here, be able to win it and go in the locker room. Like, that would be number 1. That would be number 1 for sure, Greg. Greg, a hell of a question out of you, buddy. Thank you so much. And you're the man down there in Costa Rica. Always appreciate you supporting all the Tampa Bay sports, but especially me here on the program. All right, so Buccaneers football, baby. This is it, man. No more excuses for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. No more. This is it. I don't want to hear it. I know Levante David missed practice. He wasn't out there again today. But this is the team that you have. This is the team that you have. This is the offense that you have. No more excuses. No more, we got to practice better. No more, we got to care. No more. No more. I said this yesterday. The time for talking is done. No more excuses. Go out there, take the bull by the horns, and go win this division. What they're going to do after that, if they win the division, we'll get to that conversation when we get there. Be one of the teams that are still standing at the end. Be one of those teams that when they're playing postseason football, you're in the discussion. Because once that tournament starts, it all comes down to matchups. It all comes down to matchups. And we know what happens. Crazy injuries happen. You could be playing a team, you're like, oh, wow, this team, like you could be playing the Rams. All of a sudden, Matthew Stafford goes down, and then it's like, holy shit, what happened? Devontae Adams, we see that he's not 100%. Right? So you just don't know what's going to happen. But no more excuses. No more excuses. Go out there and play your best football the last 3 weeks of the season. For all the young players, there's a lot of veterans on this team. And it sounds like if you listen to Mike Evans yesterday, he might not be done after this season. He might not be. But Levante, dealing with this injury, knowing that he's kind of lost a step, like, I think this could be it for him. So if anything, if you're not going to do it for yourself, do it for that guy. Do it for 5'4". This is the man. Looking for the type of guy that you want other people to look up to. Who is the guy that is the Buccaneer? It's Levante David. Super Bowl champion. The most underrated player maybe in NFL history when you think about it. Because you look at his numbers and who they compare with, and then you look at the accolades from Pro Bowls and All Pros, like it's not even close. Like it's so crazy how he never got any type of love, any type of Pro Bowls or All Pros, guys being injured, guys not being able to go to the game. Like he's got none of that. None of that. But he did win a Super Bowl championship. And thank God to Tom Brady for that. And their embrace, Tom and Levante, it's like one of my favorite parts of the Super Bowl. But do it for Levante if nobody else. You got Tristan Wirfs back. You got Graham Barton. You got Luke Gedeke. Those guys, those are your stalwarts on your offensive line. You have all three of your running backs. You got Baker. And, having this discussion with a couple of people yesterday, they just don't think Baker's healthy. They don't think Baker's healthy. But that's not an excuse. That's not an excuse. He hasn't really taken many hard hits, it looks like, from the last couple of weeks, right? I haven't seen any big hits on Baker. Baker has to take his game to the next level. You want to take blame for the game, the losses in the post-game press conference, during the press conferences this week? Fine. Take the blame, but do something with it. Don't just sit here and be like, oh, I'm going to wear it. And what? How do you? It's not what happens to you in this life. It's how you respond. Respond. You lost 2 games at home. This could be bad. This could be the end of this era of Buccaneers football. This could be the end of Todd Bowles. It could be the end for a lot of people here in the Tampa Bay area. There will be changes if something doesn't change. So, Tampa Bay Buccaneers, for all the love that you were getting in the beginning of the season, for all the money that you guys make, for all these guys that got these contracts, no more excuses. That's it. You're a better football team than the Carolina Panthers. I know it's tough to say that after what we've seen the last couple of weeks. The Buccaneers are better than the Panthers. Come on. They just have to show it. Because their words and my words are not going to count and not going to matter come Sunday. It's what happens on that football field. We always speak about this in sports, about doing the little things. The Buccaneers don't have to reinvent the wheel to beat the Carolina Panthers. They don't even have to play a perfect game to beat them. But you got to do the little things. Run the football. Win the turnover battle. No big-time mistakes on special teams. If you do those three things, I guarantee you they're going to win this game. If the special teams is just even, right? No missed kicks, no block kicks, no long returns. Just even it out. Don't lose the turnover battle and run the football over 25, 30 times. If you do those three things, you're going to win the football game. Go look. Go look on Sunday night when the game is over. Go look at the turnover margin. Go look at the special teams and go look at the rushing attempts, because Ian has told us this for many, many years. It's not always the rushing yards. It's the rushing attempts. The Buccaneers, as much as any team in football, need to be as balanced as humanly possible. Run the football. And here's the other thing too. Run the football with Bucky Irving. I don't give a shit about Sean Tucker or Rashad White and how many touches they get. Bucky Irving is your best running back. I don't want to hear anything about the hot hand. I don't want Bucky coming out to the sidelines. Listen, this is week 16, 17, and 18. This is it. These are the money weeks. No more we're saving Bucky Irving. No more we're managing an injury. Give the ball to 7 and get the hell out of the way. The big-time players need to be big-time players on Sunday. Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, you two guys lead the way. I'm not sitting here expecting anything from a rookie wide receiver, a second-year wide receiver coming off of a neck injury. 13, 14, 6, and 7. 6, 7, 13, and 14. It's got to be those four. Tristan Wirfs, you need to lead the way at left tackle. Get behind Wirfs and go, 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 go. Run the football. Carolina off the field. If you put Carolina in a position where they can't run the football and the ball is in Bryce Young's hands the majority of the time, I'll take that. I'll take that. And Mr. Hassan Reddick, young man, $15 million. This team does not pay free agents like that. And we are hearing a lot of things from Hassan early on this year about the positive influence that he's had in the locker room. People really enjoy his presence. They like having him around. Great. You're bought here to sack the quarterback. Now's the time, buddy. You're making $15 million a year. You got to get out there and do something. Vita Vea, wreak havoc. That front four, you have to have your best 3 games of the year, and you have to have your best game of the year on Sunday. Get in their face. Make life a living hell for Bryce Young. And in certain ways, I'm almost happier that it is on the road, because I think that's where you're going to see what this Buccaneers team is really made of. Backs against the wall. You got to win this game. What are you made of? What is the fiber? What is the DNA? What is the makeup of this team? We're going to find out on Sunday. We are going to find out in a game against the Carolina Panthers where your whole season is right in front of you. The good start is in the past. The terrible last 6 weeks are in the past. Right now, you have an opportunity to rewrite your season. Go win 2 of 3. Get into the playoffs, and then it's anybody's ball game. But no more excuses for these guys. None. I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear anything about the injuries. You look across the National Football League, and we're going to have our injury report with Dr. Rodriguez here momentarily. And just think about how many different injuries that we've spoken about this year. So many of them. You act like the Buccaneers are the only ones. And this is going to be probably as healthy as they've been all year long. You're out here with your quarterback, You're out here with your full complement of running backs, your full complement of wide receivers. It looks like Cade Otton's going to be back. If your offense needs to carry the load, you should be able to do it against these, in these last 3 games, against the Carolina Panthers and the Miami Dolphins. Of course, we want to see the defense step up, but the offense, there's plenty of weapons and plenty of firepower there to get it done. I was just watching the Raise the Flags documentary last night and looking in their run in 2020 and watching how many plays that Antoine Winfield Jr. came up with, watching a guy like Sean Murphy-Bunting having 3 interceptions in the postseason that year. We were wondering if we were going to see more turnovers, whether it's interceptions or recovered fumbles from the Buccaneers defense this year. And we have at times. But this is, we've seen this from Antoine. We saw it in the last couple of years. Remember Desmond Ridder going in for the touchdown. He knocks the ball away. You need that just a little bit extra from their defensive playmakers. Who's standing out? I find it hard to believe that all of a sudden these guys are not good. And I remember the conversation we had with Eric Kaufman. He's like, you're looking at the front 7, you're looking at the back 4. These guys, you don't just, everybody doesn't just stop being good altogether. Hassan Reddick forgot how to rush the passer. Vita Vea is only making 1 or 2 plays a game. Yaya Diaby is a guy that just, all he does is, look great in, an undershirt, right? Where does that all go? Antoine Winfield Jr. doesn't come up with interceptions anymore. Jamel Dean can't cover, right? Something's got to go. Something's got to change. And it's exciting. I think this is one of the most exciting things in sports. When you have a narrative that is written about a team and you think this is what they are. And then they say, no. We are not that team. We are not that bad. We are more like the team in the beginning of the year than the team in the middle of the season. I hope so. I think a lot of Buck fans out there are waiting for that moment to happen. And we'll see what happens on Sunday. This is as must-win of a game as we've seen in the regular season for the Buccaneers in a very long time. And for Todd Bowles, if you want to stay as the head coach of this team, you better circle the wagons, you better rally the troops, and you better get these guys firing on all cylinders on Sunday. A coach's job is to put these players in a position to succeed. You want to blame the coaches, you want to blame the players, whatever. We can argue about that until the cows come home. But I think that just as much as the players are culpable and Jason Light, so is Todd Bowles. You're a defensive guru. You're a defensive mastermind. You got to go out there and you got to do your thing. You got to go out there and show everybody that you are one of the best defensive coaches in the game. If not, you're probably going to be out of a job. So we'll see. Watching Todd Bowles and the game plan that he put together for Patrick Mahomes in the Super Bowl as I'm watching the Raise the Flags documentary, it's like, where's that guy? Where's that dude? Give me that guy right there. The confidence of, okay, they beat us in our house. But if we play them again, I got him. I need that guy. I need Todd Bowles to go into Sunday going, I got him. Put together a game plan that's going to make Bryce Young a living hell. It's going to make his day a living hell. And he's turning the football over, and he just looks like a guy that is not prepared to play in the National Football League. We'll see. Greg DeCruz, did you see the Devin White nonsense between him and Greg Allman? Yes, I did. This is why players should really stay off of social media. Greg points out a lot of different things. He wasn't talking smack about Devin White. Even Gerald McCoy hopped on Twitter to defend a guy like Greg Allman. And you guys know we've had Greg on here many, many times on the podcast, once a month. One of the most respected guys in the game. He's such a knowledgeable, down-to-earth, doesn't take pot shots. He is very supportive. He's just one of the best guys that we have in Tampa Bay, in all of sports media in the country. So it's kind of, it doesn't speak well to Devin White. Like, that's the wrong guy you want to argue with, buddy. That's not the guy you want to have a back and forth with, because he's probably in the right and you are probably in the wrong. Well, this guy, when he joins us every Thursday, is usually in the right. That's why we have him on the program. It's our pal, Dr. Carlos Rodriguez. Doc, what's going on, buddy? How are you?
Hey, I'm doing well. How are you doing?
I'm freezing right now in the building. It gets so cold here. They pump up the ACs before all the fans get here and all the heat, all the body heat comes in here. But a rough game the other night against the Panthers, huh, buddy?
Yeah, that was a rough start. I mean, they started really rough at that first quarter, giving the shorthanded goal, and then another one a minute or so later, and then it's hard to come back from a hole like that.
Yeah, no doubt about it, man. Doc, first off, before we get started, man, this has been a lot of fun. Our last visit of the year. We'll reconvene in January. I'm heading up to New York on Sunday for a couple weeks to spend the holidays with the family. What about you guys? You staying local? You going to Georgia? Where are you going?
I'm a little staycation. We're gonna stay. We're gonna probably go to Tampa, stay in Tampa at one of the hotels for a little bit for a weekend, celebrate the anniversary, go to a Lightning hockey game.
So wait, when's your anniversary?
28, December 28th.
Wow. How long have you been married, Doc?
Oh, 30. It's going to be 34 years.
Oh my gosh, Doc. What went into the thought process of getting married 3 days after Christmas?
Well, it was the holiday. We were both my wife and I were in medical school at the time, and that was basically our break. So it was a one time that we could have go to Puerto Rico, have the family together, and get it done.
Oh, how was the weather that day for your wedding?
Oh, it was great. It was great. I mean, typically you're looking at around 70 degrees during that time of the year there. Sunny. It was just a beautiful day.
Oh, man, that's wonderful, Doc. Man, we've had a lot of good discussions this year, man. And, I just saw Victor Hedman today dealing with the elbow surgery. And it's just really sad. Victor Hedman's been the captain of our team. And, they wanted to get this procedure done on his elbow. And, it's you don't want to get and that's what I wanted to ask you kind of about the surgery. These guys, no matter what, they try to avoid surgery at all costs. And we go back to the beginning of our discussion in the beginning of the year about Tristan Wirfs. And people say, why do they wait so long? And I look at Victor Hedman now, he wants to play in the Olympics so bad for Sweden. He's missed that opportunity. He wants to be healthy down the stretch. But a lot of the times, Doc, right? I mean, these guys, if they can avoid going under the knife, they will, won't they?
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. If you're always going to give the chance to your body to recover without surgery. Now, there are some injuries that we know surgery is the only way. Mm-hmm. But the majority of these overuse type injuries or minor tears, you want to give the chance to a body. And there are certain injections or certain things that you can do. We talked about before stem cell treatments, platelet injections that may give the body a chance to heal. If it doesn't, then yes, surgery is the next option. But surgery is never a guarantee, and there can be complications for surgery. You look at infection rates, you look at complications from even the anesthesia itself, a bad outcome from the surgery. So as long as you can give the body the opportunity to heal itself, you want to do that. But there's some injuries that just time has not given it adequate healing, so then you have to jump at surgery as the best option.
Doc, and you've been around teams before. I wanted to ask you, does a team's history of injuries, like let's say in this year, we were just talking to Tommy Mulligan for the Lightning and just how many guys have been banged up for the Lightning. When you have a lot of injuries in a season for a team, as a whole, do you take more precaution in when guys come back? Like, does that affect it? I mean, because you have both sides of the coin of people are wondering, like Joe Burrow, why are you coming back? He goes, well, if I'm healthy, I'm going to play. And you understand that. And if guys are healthy, you understand that they want to play, right? Mm-hmm. But I also see the other side of the coin of like where you see with the Lightning when you have so many injuries. And I think Ryan McDonough maybe, like he probably could have played a couple of games ago in the playoffs. Maybe he would have been able to play. But, I mean, it looks like he's not even going to come back until tonight. So does that happen? Like, does the pattern of injuries affect how people bring back their players?
It can, I think, depends on what you have as a backup, right? So if you have enough players to pick up the slack, I mean, and I would say the coach is the one that worried about that. On the medical side, I'm looking at really the recovery of the athlete as an individual. I'm really not looking at what the roster looks like. I'm really not looking at who's the backup person. Can I give my guy a little more time? I'm still looking at whatever timeline I have for the recovery of this injury. Now, one thing that I may keep, maybe because I'm also a fan of the sport, as I'm also the physician of the team, is I may want to be a little more careful bringing a guy too early, because if now this guy gets re-injured, he's going to be out for a longer period of time. It's going to affect the team's chances through the season a little more. So so you kind of do keep in mind who's hurt, who's not hurt as you're looking at the team itself. And you may tend to be a little more conservative when you try to bring some players back, especially knowing that there's some other players in the same line, in the same position that are also hurt. And you want to make sure that when you bring them back, they're going to be there and not have a propensity to get re-injured. Now they could be out even longer. So it maybe weighs a little bit in the back of your mind, but I think as a physician, I'm more concerned about the recovery process rather than who's on the roster.
Doc, what can you say about a guy like Mike Evans? He misses all that time. He comes back and then he just has an absolutely incredible performance for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, unfortunately in a loss. But, I mean, what can you say about Mike Evans, a guy that's
and you could tell there were a few times he got kind of hit, and I'm like, oh no, there goes that clavicle again. But he came right back. I mean, talk about resilient drive to play and just come out and play the game all out, even with no concern about the fact that you were hurt. Mm-hmm. So kudos to him and everything that he did. It came up a little short, against the Falcons. And I would tell you, I was really surprised to see a tight end for the Falcons come in and play. We talked about it last week, and he had a heck of a game too. So.
Yeah, Kyle Pitts was incredible. And how about Jalen McMillan, right? The more research that you did on that injury, you were surprised that he came back this year. And he took a couple of hits too, and you keep an eye on him, and he was able to pop right back up. Him being young certainly helps, but just another great story to be able to see him back in the lineup for the Bucs.
Oh, that's a great story, because, I mean, that type of injury that he suffered could be potentially a career-ending injury because of the chances of neurological complications later on. And just to see him out there in such a short period of time is great, knowing the extent of injuries that he had. And then again, going at it without a lot of fear, without thinking of what if I get hit and I get hurt again. So kudos to him and Mike, but they both did an outstanding job last Sunday.
Yeah, unfortunately, injuries are part of the game. And we spoke a little before about Patrick Mahomes, and this guy has been such a phenomenal athlete, such a great ambassador for the sport. To see him go down with an injury, to see Micah Parsons go down with these ACL injuries, we've had a number of them this year, Doc. It's sad.
Yeah, no, I mean, ACL injuries, and if you look at both of them, they're non-contact injuries, right? They're planting, and you see the knee buckle backwards, hyperextends, and poop, there go the ligaments. And Mahomes not only tore his ACL, but his lateral collateral ligament, so also the outer ligament of the knee is also out, which is going to complicate the recovery a little bit, because now you got two ligaments to heal. So when I saw that they're planning for him to come back first week next year, I think that's pretty optimistic. Can it be done? Yeah, that's on the short end of the recovery process for an ACL injury, which is usually 9 to 12 months. So you add an LCL to that. I think 9 months looks quite optimistic. Can he do it? Yes. Have players done it in the past? Yes. We've seen players come back within a 9-month period of time. Hopefully it's not a little longer than that. It could be 10 months. So I think 9 months is very optimistic for the type of injury. Can it be done? Yes. So we'll see.
Let's talk about some of the guys that could be or in or out for this week. Devontae Adams, wide receiver for the Rams. We know how good the Rams are. The Buccaneers know how good the Rams are. Unfortunately, losing to them a couple weeks ago. But what do we know about Devontae Adams' injury? I mean, it doesn't look good for him playing.
So, no, it's a hamstring injury. So we talked about this with Mike Evans in the past, dealing with the hamstring injury. So it's a short week also. So we talked about the issues with short weeks. So played Sunday. Now he's back up Thursday to tonight against the Seahawks. So I don't know that he's going to be back. 4 days for a hamstring injury is very short. So usually we talked about, even the minor injuries, we're looking at 2 to 4 weeks for recovery. So I don't really think he's going to be there available to play tonight. I think they'll watch him. They'll keep him on reserve, see how he's doing by next week, and maybe play him next week. But even by next week, he may not be fully recovered. We saw with Mike, it does take time for these things to heal up, for them to come back, especially in a position like a wide receiver where they're constantly sprinting and running. Mm-hmm. That hamstring needs to be completely healed up.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Greg DeCruz wants to ask, who helps the players deal with the mental aspect of being hurt rehabbing mentally can be as important as physically?
Oh, that's a great question. So a lot of professional teams these days employ mental health specialists, so sports psychologists that help the player with the mental aspects of the game, not only the game pre-injury, but the game post-injury, and helps them recover through the process of going back, like in this case, like say taking another head hit when you've had a neck injury. That's really important. Putting behind you, the risk of, am I going to be paralyzed? Am I going to have a neurological issue later on? So sports psychologists play an important role in the recovery process that these athletes go through to get them mentally ready to play again.
Yeah, it's and I've heard that a lot is about the mental hurdles, so being able to get over what happened. And we talk about Jalen McMillan and the physical hurdles. Like, to me, it's as much as the physical hurdles that he had to overcome, the mental for me, when you have that, when you're in a neck brace for that long, it's such a young age, right? It's when you even see him, it's got to be weird for him. You know what I mean? To be able to kind of, and I've had some neck issues in the past, nothing crazy, but when you have that, when you lose the support of your neck, right, Doc? And it's kind of scary, man, because when your head's heavier, your neck is one of those things. And if you could speak on that a little bit, where it's very strong to be able to prop up our head. And if there's any issues with the neck there,
right,
as you're propping it up and then you get rid of it, it's a very weird feeling, isn't it?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, your neck muscles are very strong. I mean, and they're working pretty much 24/7. Supporting your head, supporting the weight of your head, which usually between 8 and 10 pounds. So they're constantly working out, and it's important to have the stability of the cervical spine, the ligaments that support the cervical spine, the muscles around it, the ligaments around it. So the injury that he had, where you could potentially tear several ligaments around the spine, and then on top of that, he had the multiple fractures to the spine, can create quite a bit of instability. So talk about now mentally thinking about, what would happen next time I get hit? Do I run the risk of being paralyzed? And if you get hit at the neck, that you're talking quadriplegia, you're completely paralyzed. So that's a big mental hurdle to overcome when you've had an injury like this. But certainly, you got to make sure that everything, before you clear them as a physician, that everything is stable, that they're strong, that there's no risk of instability or any risk of any further neurological issues before you allow them to go back to play.
Yeah, I remember there was a kid, I think he played for Boston College in the 90s. I want to say Travis Roy, maybe was his name. And he got hit from behind and he was paralyzed. And I actually got hit in practice one time playing hockey by a teammate. And I had the boards were to the left and I had my face to the boards, and the guy pushed me and I went into the boards with almost my neck going into the boards.
Yeah.
And I went down on the ground, and I was not a guy that really stood down. And I remember laying there and looking up and seeing my dad, and I was like, oh wow, like that was a really bad hit. And I couldn't feel my feet at first because it was so cold, and it was terrifying, Doc. Like something like that, neck injury, it's, that's why you see these people, and again, I'm a big wrestling guy, and you see these people in their career, that's it, man, for their careers. Because it's one false move, isn't it, Doc? Like where you can see a perfectly fine person, and then all of a sudden they lose it all.
Yeah, and that's in football, spearing is the big thing. So leading with the crown of your helmet, because what happens is your neck has a curve to it, which protects it. But when you spear, you've created basically a straight line. So now you get hit on the crown, and basically everything collapses together because there's no longer that curvature to spring and take the impact. So that's why spearing and leading with the head of the crown of your helmet is so dangerous, because you're basically collapsing the cervical spine, which can lead to multiple fractures. And if any of those fracture fragments severs the spinal cord, that's it.
Isn't it crazy, Doc? Like when you look at the body, how there's so many different things in your body that is built to protect itself, right? Like for something like that, like why are we born in a way where everything is like that, right? We can be springy, we can deal with the contact. It's kind of wild, right? Like you look at so many different parts of our body, how like the way that our skeletal structure is composed, where we're kind of built for some of this stuff, isn't it? It's wild.
Yeah, I mean, the body has a lot of built self-protections.
Yeah, man.
Whether it's the curves of the spine, whether it's the length of the muscle, the length of the bone, the thickness of the bones, the support structures around a lot of the bones, and a lot of the things that we do. There's a lot of protections, but we engage in activities, we engage in sports that can place those protections at a disadvantage, and then that puts you a little more prone to getting hurt. So you got to be mindful of what those protections are to be able to prevent bad injuries. So if you're, that's why, your neck, make sure you see what you tackle, because you're preserving that curvature. Make sure you're stretching, make sure you're doing strengthening, make sure you're doing yoga and warming up, just to make sure that your muscles are limber and not just stiff, to prevent potential tears and potential injuries.
I wanted to ask you about Brandon Hagel real quick. He left the other night after taking that elbow to the head from Seth Jones. And, we try to not speculate as much as we can, but we've talked about what happens with these athletes after they get taken off the ice due to a head injury. But we saw him in the locker room after, Doc. And when a guy gets hit up high, he's usually nowhere to be found, nowhere near the press. He's usually probably in a dark room somewhere. Does that, and again, it's tough to speculate, but is that maybe a good sign that if we saw him after the game that he could be okay, right? Because, there's been other times where he gets hit and we don't see him. So, I mean, if you try to read between the lines a little bit, maybe could he be okay? That's what I'm saying.
The fact that a lot of the symptoms are mostly improved and resolved at the time you see him after the game, is always a good sign.
Yeah.
But there could be relapse, right? And then the team may feel really good at that point, but then a night goes through and the next day, headaches, confusion, trouble with memory. So all those things can creep in, may not necessarily be present right off the bat. You may feel great. You're like, why? It's like what we talked about, getting your bell rung in the past.
Yeah.
Everything was fine, and kind of the next day, everything was fuzzy again. You're like, what's going on?
What about a guy like Saquon Barkley? I mean, this is a dude that a lot of our people that are playing fantasy football, they're going to, and myself included, he's on my team. What about Saquon and his availability for the Eagles?
So it looks like what they're reporting. So what he had was a stinger. So talk about kind of neck injuries or neurological injuries. So stinger basically is a stretch out of the muscles from your neck down to your arm. And that can be from either your neck getting stretched out or your arm getting pulled back. And then the nerves get stretched out to the point where they get impacted and they stop working for a little bit. And that's kind of, you get that tingling sensation, numbness, sometimes a little bit of weakness in the upper arm. And it's usually just to one side. Once that happens, usually within 5-10 minutes, the numbness, tingling clears up, and you can usually look at the athlete. All the symptoms are gone, as long as they're not bilateral, which we'd be more concerned for a neck injury. Then you can go ahead and clear them and go back. So my thinking is, he finished the game, he was doing fine. Maybe he had a little bit of remnants of tingling and numbness. So on practice Tuesday, they decided, let's just keep you out. Let's make sure everything is fine. Do a good X-ray or MRI even on the neck, on the cervical spine. Make sure everything looks okay. Make sure there are no neck injuries. By Wednesday, he's completely clear. All the symptoms are good, so they allow him to practice. The strength is there. The feeling is there. So I don't see there's an issue with him playing in the upcoming game. 79% of athletes come back within a day of the injury. So only about 6% of those of athletes that have this kind of stinger or neck injury are out for longer than a week. So the odds are that he's likely to come back and play. And I'm pretty sure, but the fact that he practiced on Wednesday means that he's absolutely doing fine.
We talk a lot about muscle and bones and things like that, but the nerves, I think sometimes when you talk about nerves, it scares people a little bit. What could stingers like that, what could that lead to when it comes to some of that nerve damage, for lack of a better term?
Well, I mean, the one thing you would worry about if there's no recovery of the feeling back or recovery of the motor functions or strength is that the nerve actually got some permanent damage or got some more severe damage than just a stretch. There may be some tearing going on or separation. The problem with our central nervous system is that it doesn't regrow. It doesn't heal. That's why if your neck is severed or you injure your cervical cord, that's it. If you injure your what's called the brachial plexus, which is basically the nerves that go to your upper arm, if you tear that, your arm is no longer going to function well because the nerves are completely damaged. So peripheral nerves, like the ones on your skin, may be able to grow and you get the feeling back after you get a cut. But central nerves, they don't grow back. So the one thing you got to be careful is that the injury that you're treating is not an injury that would lead to permanent damage. So that's why with a stinger, if it's one-sided, symptoms resolve usually within 5 minutes. You can let the athletes go back to play. If the symptoms don't resolve within 5 minutes, you got to be a little more careful. you got to make sure the cervical spine is fine. If the symptoms are on both hands, then it's not really a stinger at that point. You got to worry more about a cervical spine type injury. And if there's recurrent issues, and most people with a stinger, about probably 35-40% of people with a stinger will have another one, you got to make sure that those symptoms recover fast too. Otherwise, you got to, again, look at the neck, make sure there's no permanent neck issues.
Doc, has there been any kind of technological or any kind of advances when it comes to central nerves or anything like that, where it's like you said, you would think that would be one of the things that a lot of people would be looking at and trying to, you know what I mean? Like that's the next big thing to work on, but it doesn't seem like there's a lot.
There's a lot of research that has been going on through the years regarding the recovery or the healing of nerves and trying to see how we can help nerve recover. It's just the nervous system is very complicated, how the transmission of impulses travel through a nerve, how the nerve itself is built to transmit the impulses. So any kind of injury to those little microstructures that help nerve impulse and electrical conduction within the nervous system, it's really hard for repair. And those cells, those neurons, are not like, say, your liver. Your liver can regenerate. The skin can regenerate, your hair can regenerate, so your nails continue to grow. So there are cells in our body that are constantly being turned over and recover, the lining of your gut. But when it comes to the central nervous system, it's what you have is what you got. And if anything gets hurt, it's really hard for it to recover or heal, because once it's severed, it doesn't grow back.
Wow, that's cool. That's wild. I've just been watching the Raise the Flags documentary on Amazon Prime for the Buccaneers, and one of the big stories was Chris Sims years ago, where he had an emergency splenectomy when he ruptured his spleen and he lost 9 of the 13 pints of blood in his body. Yeah. It's a miracle that he survived. I mean, have you heard of other stories like that where a ruptured spleen? I mean, it's amazing.
If I remember correctly, I think Steven Forsberg.
Peter Forsberg. Yeah, Peter Forsberg. Yeah. Yes. For the Avalanche. And, yes.
Yeah. So he actually played the game, suffered the injury, was doing fine. And I think he was sitting at dinner when he started like collapsing and passing out. When they take him emergency to the hospital, basically had a spleen laceration, rupture, and he was bleeding internally. And it bled to the point that he basically was symptomatic from it. Yes, splenic ruptures can be quite dangerous because you're bleeding internally and you don't know about it until you've lost enough blood that you have symptoms. So anytime there's an injury there to that side of the body, when you're looking at kind of the spleen is protected under the ribs on your left hand side. But if your spleen is enlarged, say you've had mono and your spleen gets large because of mono, and you engage in sports like, say, an impact sport, and you get hit, there's a potential for rupture of your spleen. So you have to be very careful when you allow any person who's had an illness that creates spleen enlargement to go back. But it can happen even if your spleen is normal. You get an impact right there, right under your rib cage on the left-hand side. There's a potential that you can actually rupture your spleen or suffer a laceration to your spleen.
Are there any other organs like that happens like that? Like
your liver? You can suffer liver lacerations or liver injuries also that can cause bleeding internally. The kidneys, not so much. You could suffer fractured kidneys, but those are really big impacts around the kidney. But the liver, because it's such a large organ, the spleen, they're very large organs, and they're really like jello when you look at them. They're very soft type organs, and they have lots of vascular supply to them. So any type of laceration or injury to that tissue just bleeds. And because of the nature of the tissue, it's not like skin that you can just suture and put together. You have to do a lot of packing. You have to do a lot of treatments and different kinds of suturing or basically compression to try to stop the bleeding. Because if you try to just put sutures through, it just goes right through the tissue. So it's not like putting skin together.
How about Christian Watson for the Packers? It looks like they avoided a big injury with him, Doc.
Christian Watson, so he had what looked like a chest injury on Sunday, initially grabbing the shoulder after the injury. My thinking is he ended up leaving via ambulance to the hospital. So my thinking is he either complained of shortness of breath or maybe some chest pain at the time. And at that point, you start being concerned about, is there a collapsed lung? Is there some sort of chest injury? Is there some sort of heart injury? Did he suffer a chest contusion or heart injury? So precautionary, send him to the hospital, get him checked out. Everything went well during all the checkups that they did at the hospital, so I expect him to be fine to play. So I think the fact was that he may have complained about something else going on, something else hurting. And when you're looking again, the chest cavity, there's a lot of things in there that could go wrong. So you want to make sure that you take him to the hospital and make sure everything is checked and it's okay.
How about Minkah Fitzpatrick, Doc? I mean, this is a guy that the Buccaneers are probably going to see in a couple weeks down there in South Florida.
Well, I don't know, because what he suffers is a calf injury. So most calf injuries are mostly, we call it tennis leg. It happens in tennis a lot when you go to sprint and your calf muscle just tears. The minimum amount of time out on most calf tears is 19 days. So it could be a couple of weeks that he's out, could be up to 3 weeks.
Right.
It depends on what muscles torn up. There's two major muscles in your calf muscle. One's called the gastroc, the other one's called the soleus. Gastroc injuries tend to heal a little faster than soleus injury. That's the deeper muscle in your calf. The average gastroc injury, mild, it's about 19 days. Soleus is about 25 days.
Okay.
So it'll be tough to see if he's going to play the Bucs in a couple of weeks, because it does take time. These calf injuries, and there's a high recurrence rate when you come back too early and too soon to play. So I think they're going to be rather conservative with his treatment, especially with Miami being out. I think that they're just going to let him rest and maybe not worry about it. And maybe with a couple of games from now, maybe we'll see him.
Yeah, and we've talked about this before, about how the calf injuries sometimes lead to that Achilles injury. And I know Karl Anthony Towns the other night for the Knicks, he had a calf injury, and they talked about it. And he was like, he's probably done for the night. And he came back in the game, and I'm like, oh my gosh, here we go. We specifically, is there anything specific about the calf injury? Kind of how you just told us there, like that would lead to the Achilles? Is it one side or the other? Is it any type of calf injury specifically that could make you more available for hurting Achilles?
So, I mean, that all starts talking about the fact that maybe everything on the posterior part of your leg is a little tight. Okay. There's no huge correlation between a calf injury, like the muscle itself, and an Achilles tendon. But because we know already that things are tight back there, could you end up eventually having an Achilles injury? Is yes. But does the fact that you had a calf injury means that the next thing that's going to happen is your Achilles tears? Not necessarily, because what happens?
What are the other injuries? Sorry, Doc. What are the other part? Like, so if it's a calf, is there anything else maybe back there that would possibly lead to an Achilles then?
I mean, if you have a partial calf or a partial Achilles tear, that can lead later on to a full tear. But the Achilles, when it tears, it mostly tears way down, usually around the insertion or around the mid substance, close to the heel area. When you're looking at the calf strains, this is more on your upper third, where your muscle joins the tendon. That's usually where the issues happen.
Okay, so you're thinking like anything that's tight back there is just pretty much symptomatic of just everything being tight. It's not where it's a direct correlation from the calf to the Achilles. Right. I'm sorry, what you were saying about the calf injury.
Yeah, so with in his case, even what we would call a grade 0 injury, which is basically no muscle tears, no intrasubstance injury, you're looking at least 7 days out. Right. So my thinking is if he pulled up, and the way he pulled up and fell, it looked like he was sprinting. And running injuries, as opposed to say a jumping injury that leads to a calf injury, running injuries tend to be worse and usually take 12 days longer than a jumping type injury to the calf for recovery.
Right. Doc, last question from Greg DeCruz. If Bucs miss the playoffs, I'm going to have a broken heart. Any fixes for that?
Man, it was heartbreaking to watch him lose against Atlanta.
Yeah.
I mean, it looked like the game was in hand. It's just, I think you mentioned it before, the defense.
Yeah, rough.
There's a struggle with the defense. I mean, I think the offense is doing what they need to do, but the defense is having a lot of issues. So the coach needs to find a way to get that defense going again, the way we know he can do it. I don't think it's injuries, because most of the injuries we've talked about are injuries on the offensive side of the line. Yeah. And they continue to do fine. So I think Coach Bowles needs to find a way to get this team going in the right direction when it comes to defense.
And Greg, if you need a broken heart, any fixes for that? Probably red wine, buddy. It is the holidays, so something like that, no doubt about it. Doc, This has been an extreme pleasure and an honor to have you on the show and to have you part of the family here. I hope you've enjoyed it as much as I have. And man, we just get so many fantastic comments and just really nice messages to what you've been able to bring to the show. It's been so great to get to know you. And again, this isn't the end. This is just the end of 2025. So looking forward to talking to you again the first or second week of January. I'll be in touch for sure. But thank you so much for making our show a whole heck of a lot better, a whole heck of a lot smarter. And Merry Christmas and a happy holidays to you and the whole Rodriguez fam. And I'll be in touch, my friend. We'll talk to you in the new year. Thank you so much for everything.
Merry Christmas. Happy New Year to you too. It's been a pleasure.
You got it, buddy. The one and only Dr. Carlos Rodriguez. I can't tell you how many times people come up and talk about that segment to us. And listen, the great thing about it is you'll hear all of these different things about injuries, and then you'll go back and you'll be like, well, what did Jay and Dr. Carlos Rodriguez have to say about the injury? 95% of, I think the only thing that we didn't get right was the Emeka Ibuka thing. All right. Everything else, I mean, we've been spot on. But Doc, you're the best, buddy. I appreciate you. Thank you so much. You are the man. Such a great time, man. And again, Evara Health is where it's at. Evara Health is where it's at. EvaraHealth.org. They are crushing it. Ed, you're here early. You want to go at 1 instead of 1:30? You want to come in now?
I don't even know what time it is. Oh, yeah, right. 1:30. You're right. Yeah, let's go. Let's
go with you now. That's fine. We'll just change everything around. Hold on. I got a special thing for you here. We'll get you on now, buddy. We'll talk about USF later. The last real oos, Eddie Encina, my guy, my good pal. What's going on?
App right there. He's
Raleigh.
Got a sweater on. Pulled out.
How excited is he for the holidays?
He is so hype. Look at him.
He's so hype right now. Hold on, let me change the. I got to change my tweet to make sure everybody knows that you're on. All right, updated. We're good. See, I move things around for my guys.
Appreciate you, Jay.
You're the man, buddy. All right. This here. Bum, 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 bum. All right, good. We are locked and loaded and ready to go. All right, so we were talking about this a little while ago when it comes to the Lightning. I think rank who has the best chance of playing tonight: McDonough, Hagel, and Vazzy.
Not a betting man.
I didn't stay at a Holiday Inn Express last night.
But I would say that you know what? I would say Vasilevsky and McDonough are pretty. Just from seeing today, you know, Vassy didn't skate, which is a good thing on a morning skate day. It might sound weird, but
it used to not be. It used to not be because, but he had a change.
And McDonough got a good work day. I think yesterday he told us that, you know, he was going to, you know, test some stuff out this morning and see how it felt. But he was a guy who was, you know, seemed to come off the ice pretty confidently, and he wasn't one of the last ones on the ice either. So that's a good sign too. There was an optional skate today, so you know, guys who, you know, didn't skate, couldn't skate, stuff like that, weren't on the ice. So we didn't see Brandon Hagel. So I think he's a big question mark coming in. So if I had to rank it, I would actually put Vassy and McDonough right at the top.
Really? Okay. What about you, Raleigh? What do you think?
What
does Raleigh think?
Raleigh, what do you think? He just sighed.
He's like,
so he's just tired of all the injuries.
So what do you think about dogs wearing outfits? I know Jay Leno used to freak out about that. You guys are fans of that, or?
So I honestly think he gets cold too. You know, he only has 3 outfits. He has this little holiday sweater that has a snowflake on it.
Okay.
Then he has a couple of fleece jackets that he wears when it gets really cold outside. So that's all. Like, I haven't dressed him in, like, we have them, but I haven't dressed him in like team jerseys or anything like that. So that's kind of next level stuff. But maybe one day we will. I don't know. Like, it's also like what he actually wants to wear. You know?
Oh, okay.
You know, like this stuff you just can't slide. You know, just can't slide him into it. You know,
he's like,
yeah, I'm wearing this really, really badass Miami Heat Vice Wave hoodie.
Wow,
it was really cool, but he just can't fit into it because it's like there's sleeves and it's a little
snug,
you know, body fit. You know what I mean? To gets all your muscles showing and everything like that. So, I don't think he's actually put that on yet.
He is definitely like, well, you guys are talking about me right now.
Yeah.
He knows the deal. He's like, what are you guys talking about over there? Do you guys consider him your kid? Are you guys one of those people that consider your dog your kid?
We treat him like one, probably. Yeah. I mean, we got to figure out. We don't leave him alone for more than like a couple hours.
Shout out to my guy Vince Scagno, captain, wears a Bucks jersey on game day. There you go. There we go. I'm like, hey, it's your dog. You know what I mean? When people get so bent out of shape, like, oh, I can't stand people that put pineapple on pizza. Then don't eat it. Who cares what everybody else is eating? I can't stand when people dress up their dog. It's not your dog. Do whatever the hell you want. Like, just each their own, man.
I mean, there's some cute dogs in jerseys. Yeah, no doubt.
Right.
Or bandanas or whatever. Yeah.
But think about it, Ed. Who the hell am I going to complain about wearing the stuff that I wear? How dare I ever say what anybody else should do? And I think that's what everybody loses when you're like, oh, yeah, the shoes. Like, you're never going to hear me say, like, you shouldn't do this, you shouldn't do that. In any aspect of life, do whatever the hell you want to do. You want to have a purple money in the bank, senior money in the bank, and you want to bring it into the arena one day, like, do your thing. Have a good time. Right?
I agree.
He agrees with me. Optional morning skate today. Optional morning skate for the media today is just 4 or 5 of us out here today, which is pretty fun. But I'm looking at this team, and let's go back to what happened with the Panthers. Do you think the Panthers are in the head of the Lightning?
I think maybe a little bit. I think that,
I love how me, you, and Eric have 3 different answers to this. He says no, you say a little bit, and I say, hell yeah. I'm like, hell yeah, they're in there.
So I think you'll talk to guys at the beginning of the season, and they would tell you that, it's the scope of the domination of this state has changed,
Right.
And that's not arguable. That's not, it's fact. And, until, what is the saying? Until you can't be the best until you beat the best, right? What's that?
Yeah. No, to be the man, you got to beat the man. That's Ric Flair. Yeah.
So,
woo.
So, I think they understand that. And I think that, I think part of the frustration has been how some of these games have gone, obviously, right? Is that, we went into the season with a team that, was, that was structured not very differently than last year's team, because I think everyone in the front office thought that they had a good team, that a couple of bounces gone their way, they would have gone farther, and didn't run into but mainly because they didn't run into the Florida Panthers,
right,
and the way they play. And so, we saw after that 6th game of the preseason, they go out and they get Curtis Douglas. They go out and, they're playing guys like Saber and Moore, and so you can't argue that they're not trying to play to or accommodate their lineup every time to a better fit every time they play the Florida Panthers.
Right.
It's fact. And I think that does play into it. And obviously, the Hagel stuff has just been crazy, is the fact that, it seems like every game they're going after the guy. But also, I think this is, I think Eric and I talked about this the other day. It's like, this is the way they play, They play, they get away with it, they win that way.
Right.
And, so you either do what you tried to do in the last preseason game and, take it in your own hands, which obviously got them fined and suspended and all that other stuff, or you try to figure out a way to beat it, and I think that's what they're still kind of trying to do. Obviously they had a great game in Sunrise a month ago, with, obviously not the regular cast of characters. They'll play them in a week, down there in Sunrise. And all of this kind of is this, preset for when it really means something. And we talked about this a lot, is like, I don't think the Lightning take these games against the Panthers as legitimate battles, but none of them until
right.
So, at the end of the day, it's kind of, it is true more than ever. I do believe that the regular season is a dress rehearsal. And, obviously you got to get the points, and the points are, I think Coop's talked about a lot, like, it's so tough in this division, so tough in this conference that it might be, 85, 90 points get you in the playoffs this year.
Yeah.
Where in years past, you needed close to 100, But, at the end of the day, I do think that there is a mental hurdle that the Lightning have to overcome with the Panthers that will only come with beating the Panthers.
Right.
And there's a lot of things to it,
I'm with you. And that's the thing is I was mentioning this the other night to Eric, like, Douglas and Sabrin, like in the game the other night, it's like, if you're not going to be physical, if you're not going to fight, why are you in the lineup? And he's like, preventative measures. And, we spoke about this yesterday, and I wanted to have this chat with you too. It's like, do you run the risk of being too reactionary and too counter fighting, too counter punchy, instead of trying to establish your own will and your own style of play? Because I think people run into that, especially in a sport like hockey, where you try to go, well, we're going to do this entire thing to beat the Panthers. Well, that's great. Your goal really is to win the Stanley Cup. So let's say you don't even play the Panthers and then you don't make it far. And then it's like, well, you put the roster together to beat them. And now shouldn't you put the roster together so that your team could beat anybody rather than just beating the Panthers?
Well, I do think there's been some adaptability to this team, over the course of the season. Like I said, they came in with a team that wanted to be hard to play against, but still fast and have pace, right? Mm-hmm. And then, some of the stuff happened to the Panthers. They got a little bigger, right? You see guys like Douglas in the lineup. You see, Sabrin called up guys like that. But they also lost five of their first 6 games, 6 of their first 7. And then I think you saw some of those younger guys like Dominic James and stuff like that. Yanni Gord hit another level. And then they became a pace team again, and they were built on speed and taking risk out of their game, right? And I think that's probably the bottom line of it, is the more you take risk out of your game, and Cooper will tell you this ad nauseum, is the more you put yourself in a situation to succeed, because you're giving less risk, you're limiting chances, you're more likely to limit a team to 2 goals or fewer. Now, having said that, the way the Florida Panthers play, in your face, forward checking, they use their speed, all that stuff is, and the other layer of it is how the physicalness of the style they play. It's almost, you've got to morph your way into that, knowing too that some of those layers will help you win. Will help you build a team like to win the Stanley Cup. Right. Now, take the Panthers out of this. I thought that I thought it stunk that they had to play the New York Islanders 3 times in 12 days, right? Wow. But though, as we discussed, those games were playoffs caliber games. Right. Like those are the kind of style we've seen in the past. We've seen that style in the past, 3, 4, or 5 years ago with those teams, different cast of characters. But I think those are the things that you have to take from individual games. How did you win this game? How did you how did you have to play to beat that team by a goal? How did you have to play to, beat them, shut a game down 6-on-5 in the third, limit penalties, not create odd man rushes. The big thing about the game the other day was, obviously it was the shorthanded goals, right? And just the way how quickly they can create odd man rushes for themselves. I think that's the big thing. And as much as it's about the physicality and stuff like that, we know the Lightning, we've seen enough of them to know what they are, and they are a team that when they protect the puck, when they protect the front of the net, and when they take risk out of their game, they're pretty damn hard to beat. And obviously different teams come at you in different ways, and they're a team that comes at you a way that is very, very difficult to, 1, defend, and 2, defend that while you're keeping your head on a swivel. And that's the big thing, it's the idea of they play this relentless forechecking game and dump and chase, they skate, but also they have you chasing them while you're worried about when you have the puck, so you always have your head on a swivel. And going back to the whole in your head thing is that's the way they want to play, if that's the way they want to grind you down and make you worry and keep your head on the swivel and look around and worry while they're skating around you, so. But I do think it's a little bit of both, this, and we've seen this team kind of morph that way a little bit differently, even over the course of the past, couple months of this season.
Shannon's here. Say hi to Shannon. Is she at the house?
Yes, she's downstairs.
Oh, she's the best. Oliver Bjorkstrand, where are we at? Ollie? What are we doing here, Ed?
Well, You know, that's a tough one
Yeah,
because I
it is
do
a
think
tough one.
I do think he's played better
Yeah.
being on that line with Gensel and Point. I think he looks more comfortable. I do think he's a top 6 kind of player, and putting him on a fourth line probably doesn't do it justice, especially if you want him to, he's only going to play 7 minutes of 5-on-5, and all of a sudden you want him to shoot, shoot one-timers from the left circle on the power play.
Mhm.
So I think he's got to be in that role. Like we talk about this with Radish and Mosier and guys like that, defensemen, of like how much more confidence they get with increased ice time. And I think that's the same thing with Bjorkstrand. He's got to be in a middle 6 to top 6 kind of role for him to really succeed. Now, at the same time, I honestly have seen steps forward, and I think he had a couple good games on the road trip. And I think he's gaining confidence. Now, whether it's at the speed that everyone wants it, or whether it's at the speed of, while everyone's looking at him as, the issue on the power play, which he isn't. I don't think he's the only issue of the power play. Obviously, the short goals are, was a perfect example the other night. But, I still think like you just got to stick it through and ride out with him.
The whole year? If he stays this way by the trade deadline, Ed, do you stay with him? You got a team that's built to win the Stanley Cup. You're going to get Hedman back. You get McDonough. You're going to get Chernak. You're going to get Lilleberg. You got Vazzy. I think one of the biggest things is that Vazzy and Kuch are not playing in the Olympics. They're probably the 2 best players that aren't going to be in the Olympics.
Yeah, no
right?
doubt.
When you think about it. So those guys are going to get time off, and they're going to be itching to play. And they're going to be rested and ready to roll. I think the sprint to the finish is going to behoove the Lightning as much as anybody. So for me, if Bjorkstrand is still at this pace where I don't know, man. I don't know.
I honestly think too, I think that he's more of a in movement player than he is a stationary player. Just from watching him when he was in Seattle and Columbus.
But that's not good. That's not good because our power play is not a movement. It's a puck movement, not a player movement.
But also too, I do think that the power play has to become more movement because and not as stationary as it has been over the years.
We've been saying that since Stamkos was here. That shit ain't gonna change.
But look, but think of it this way too: is the goals that they've actually scored, the way that they've kept PKs, giving them trouble, is when they play lower towards the goal line, and that involves a lot more movement with Jake Gensel because of Jake Gensel, because of what he can do, and behind the net, around the post, in front. And Kucherov, I think, has become a much better player at the tight angle. You know what I mean? In terms of, finding guys, open. And then and there's no doubt that once you move a little lower and separate a little bit, you move those guys out. Now, obviously, yes, Oliver Bjorkstrand needs to start hitting those shots. There's no doubt. And, we actually saw, I think we saw a little bit more of Brandon Hagel on the top unit. The shifts matter when you're on the road and stuff like that. But I feel like when the PK stays out there with Kucherov and Gensel and Point staying out there, like I think we've seen a little bit more of Hagel on there.
He switches out first. Yeah, he comes off. Yeah, which I hate because the way that their power play set up, it's for a guy to shoot that puck on the one timer. And now if Hagel's on the left side, he's never shooting the puck because he's a left-handed shot. Yep. So I that's where it's kind of a little ass backwards for me, where it's like, if you're trying to get Bjorkstrand to be that guy and you're trying to instill more confidence, you're playing him with Point and Gensel, he can't be hopping off the ice 35 seconds into the man advantage when everybody else is staying on. It doesn't make sense.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. They've got to have him out there, but I honestly do think he's actually made strides. Now, I don't know if there are enough strides at this point, but I do think he's gotten a little bit more comfortable there. And I think you talked about, I think after the maybe after the Devils game, I think he scored that game, and it was just kind of a, you've got to figure things out for yourself a little bit.
Right.
And,
yeah.
And there is value to hearing a guy say that too. There's Raleigh's sweater. See, he's modeling it.
Oh, nice.
There he goes. Here you go, Raleigh.
Raleigh.
But yeah, so I think there's value to that, and I also think that one thing I will tell you that people don't necessarily see, and not to be like this, not like a homer or anything like that, but this team works on the power play this year. They've worked on the power play this year more than I've ever seen them work. They spend entire morning skates working on the power play. They spend 25 minutes of an hour-long practice working on the power play. And Oliver Bjorkstrand is one who, including that, takes one-timers pretty much after every practice.
Yeah.
With getting fed by Kucherov, and other guys. So it's not. I know that this is the key choice here. It's not a matter of not wanting it, right?
It's not for a lack of effort
or not trying or lack of effort. And I would think that with the resume that Oliver Bjorkstrand has, that I don't know if it's going to click one moment. I mean, I think it's more the release than anything. I don't even think it's got to be like this. It's got to be a one-timer every time. It's just got to be something that gets through. What creates the chaos. And we saw this to a certain extent with Darren Radish last year. And even at the beginning of this year, it's like there's a certain confidence that comes with shooting the puck, and especially a certain confidence that comes with the puck when you're playing on a power play around a bunch of stars.
Yeah, no doubt.
And Darren Radish has figured that out because he's getting 27 minutes a game, and and other guys have too with guys going down due to injury. And Oliver just needs to find that. I think I think it's mainly a confidence thing. I don't think it's a structure thing. I don't think it's anything else. He doesn't have necessarily the best, So
we'll see. This is a big question here. Once we're done with hockey, it's a big fantasy football week. Playoffs are underway. Also, there's a scandal involving Ed and what he didn't say in a previous appearance with you. Here we go.
Okay, there's so much underlying stuff here.
I want to overlay it. Did you make the playoffs?
I didn't make the playoffs. Didn't even know till like Tuesday.
There's only 4 people that make the playoffs, right?
Yeah, in the listing league, only 4 people make it, and I was dead last in like week 6 or 7.
Wow.
And then worked my way up.
Come
Again,
back.
I think I told you this before. I lost both 2 quarterback league,
Yep.
lost Daniels and Burrow, and just generally had a bad draft. Didn't draft very good wide receivers. A half point PPR league. So,
Ew.
but yeah, we just built it back. One day at a time. It was very inspiring to be a part of. But
First off, tell your family, tell Shannon's family, stop with the half PPRs, right? Come on, full PPR, get up with the 2025. You're not doing anything. You're just hurting yourself. No more half PPRs. I hate that rule.
All right, we'll get to it in the league meetings when the league meetings are held.
You let them know. I'll let them know. Don't make fun of my shoes, but I'll make fun of you with your half PPRs. All right, go ahead. What's this whole controversy?
No, so the other day a couple weeks ago we were talking about Josh Hockey, right?
Oh yeah, Josh Hockey.
And so I hear it every once in a while from on the group threads and everything like that, the text threads. And I mentioned, I think during the Josh Hockey talk, I mentioned that my brother-in-law Josh was one of my guys, and so I want to make perfectly clear that it's not just him who's one of my guys. That my father-in-law John Liston is also one of my guys.
Oh, okay.
So I just want to make perfectly clear all this.
John, Big John, they call him.
Yeah, John.
Where's John? Is John in the playoffs?
Oh no.
Oh no! Why do you say it like that?
I don't know. I think I actually lost to him this year, but
I don't like how you said "oh no."
it's just
What do you mean "oh no"? Like
I had to tell him about the IR spots last year.
Okay, so all right.
He's kind of a newbie, not a newbie, but just like you bring him in. And I'm getting more trouble. I was
gonna say this is not making your case any better for great John Liston. Yeah, are they related to Sonny Liston at all?
Oh, I've heard that many, many times.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That'd be a great. I have this game that I usually play at the bar, where it's I call it the Bradshaw game, and you have to take 2 different athletes with the same last name but different ethnicities. So I call it the Bradshaw game because Terry Bradshaw and his nephew Ahmad Bradshaw. It's a good one, and you can't be no Spanish guys. Can't do it.
The Giants running back Ahmad Bradshaw, right?
Yes, of course. Do you have anybody else you can think of off the top of your head?
Sonny Liston is actually a pet in the family. There's a Sonny Liston, but
Sonny Liston and John Liston.
But she's a girl. So
really,
yeah.
Okay, so all right, so that was the big controversy that your father-in-law was about to disown you.
Yeah.
John, just to let you know, John, I think you're a hell of a fantasy football player. You raised a hell of a daughter. The only thing I don't know about your daughter is her choice in men, but you know what are you going to do? That's the way it goes. She's a big wrestling fan and a big supporter of the Recher podcast, so we appreciate the entire listening family, Shannon as well. Brad Johnson and Keyshaw Johnson. I like that. There you go.
That's a good one.
There you go. All right, let's finish our discussion today talking about the last real champion, John Cena, going out, choked out, tapping like a baby back bitch. That's what Gunther said, not me. Saturday night's main event ends with John Cena going out. Gunther wins. What did you make of the entire thing, Ed?
So it's funny because I think when I first talked to you about it, I was like, I hated it, right? But I just hated the whole, like, you know, the ending. It was very anticlimactic. The way the tap out happened, everything.
Right.
But the more I've kind of gone on, the more like we've seen the like reaction afterwards. It did exactly what like they wanted it to do.
Right.
And I think we talked about this the other day. Is like, you know, I've covered a lot of games at the Capital One Center, and I know like it's amazing how well they even script things that they're scripting for like social media with like Gunther coming out of the arena and getting on the bus. It's like there's no way any athlete who's performing in the Capital One Center will have to go outside a door to get on a bus on K Street. No way.
No way.
It was all like, you know, it was all set up and it worked perfectly and everything like that. But seeing the reaction he got in Hershey the other night, and you know, it did exactly what they want. So it's like, and I kind of like this because, to be honest, going in, the Gunther Cena matchup to me I wasn't gravitated towards it just because I didn't think Gunther needed a push. You know, then you see this and you're like, okay, well maybe, you know, him beating and just totally mocking and everything like that, you know, John Cena, like it actually has. So, you know, between that and the black hoodie guy, like we've had the next couple of days. So
Austin Theory, baby. I love it.
Yeah, I like that too. I think that it is funny though, because I do think that everyone just before his break, everyone just wanted him to come babyface, right?
Yeah,
you know? And so now we'll see what do you think is going to happen with that?
Well, I think we talked about it a little before. I think he's a plant for Seth Rollins. I like this. And, hey, we were just talking about the guy, Akeman Razor. One of those guys, now he's in bare knuckle fighting. He got signed today or yesterday.
Oh, really?
Bro, this happens to me all the time. I'll talk about, nobody's talked about, all of a sudden there's a big news story on him. And I don't know which one it was. It was Akam or Razor, but one of them is just going to sign up for bare knuckle fighting. I saw it. I'm like, what the hell, man?
So I'll
Crazy
be at the
stuff.
arena in like a couple months.
Yeah, cannot wait. Have you been to a bare knuckle fighting thing?
No, I have not.
It's insane, dude.
Didn't they have one there like recently at the arena?
I don't know if they had one here, but I know we went to the one in Lakeland. Okay. And bro, it's crazy. You can't look away because a lot of the fights end in the first round. It's bare knuckle, bro. It's crazy. And you hear it, man. There's like a thud. It is nuts. Ed, what do you have up on Tampa Bay Times right now as far as stories go?
Let's go. Caught up with Braden Point a little bit on the road trip. Just kind of he talked a little bit about how, you know, honestly, how getting hurt actually helped him kind of reset. Coming back from, you know, obviously a pretty slow start there. And, you know, I think he's in a good place now. You know, he scored a couple goals on the road trip. He had a couple assists the other night against Florida. So you can tell the way he was talking about was it's, you know, it's great actually to kind of see sometimes how other guys can create time and space for themselves, which is kind of, it's crazy hearing Braden Point say that because he's one of the best in the business at doing that. Right.
And people do that with him. Yeah. Right.
But sometimes you gotta, you know, it's good to kind of take a step back and look and see how other guys are doing it, especially given the way teams play the Lightning. And so it was interesting. And that's one of those ones where it's like, it's great to be able to get that during a practice day, you know, in Long Island, and you're able to kind of, you know, get a guy for a good, 20 minutes and just kind of have a back and forth with him. Obviously, with some of the guys coming back, McDonough, Vasilevsky, kind of a little bit of a look later on about, how all this can benefit the team moving forward, and one thing that talked to Rob Zettler yesterday, and he was saying that, before all of these injuries, he would look on the bench and be like, all right, I need a matchup. I'm going with McDonough Chernak, right? But now, because those guys have been out, there's a bunch of guys that, there's more pairings out there that you can look at and really kind of lean on as some matchup pairings in the defensive core. Like notably, obviously, the pairing of Mosier Radish, which has really kind of become a pairing that was created by necessity.
Yeah.
Now, as we talked about, you don't want to break them apart because they've had so much chemistry and play so well together. And, really to talk about taking risk out of their games, it's like both of those guys are really taking that to the next level. Darren was a guy who I think he told me, when I wrote that story on him a few weeks ago, it's like, I wish I had that game one back,
Yeah.
That bad play, trying to get the puck out and the turnover that led to a goal against Ottawa. And, but he's, you see the guy that you're playing now. And obviously, JJ is one of those guys that's just taking his all-around game, especially his defensive game, to another level. That's why I think Zettler called him the eraser, because he just erases guys.
Yeah.
So I thought that was cool too. So something a little bit about that too coming up in the B column, and then obviously next week I'll have something on the stadium series. I did get, when I was in New York, I got to go up to league headquarters and have a chat with them a little bit about the stadium series game coming up. And then we are going to go cover the Winter Classic down in Miami.
Oh, nice.
Prequel to February 1st at Ray J. So be cool to just kind of see how the whole operation goes. It's obviously different, right, in Miami in a baseball stadium versus a completely outdoor football stadium, but still some of the still the same obstacles might remain there in terms of trying to put on an outdoor game in Florida. So pretty busy. It takes a couple of days off for Christmas, as the league does, but finish up and then get right back at it.
Well, Ed, it's been an absolute pleasure chatting with you every Thursday, my friend, and Raleigh in the background, and Shannon always chiming in. Happy holidays, Merry Christmas, Happy Kwanzaa, Happy Hanukkah to you and the entire Liston and Encina crew. Best of luck in fantasy football playoffs. More importantly, if you lose to your wife, you'll probably never hear the end of it. But if you win, you'll probably be laying and sleeping on that bed with Raleigh. So,
the thing is, I would play her in the championship game.
Oh my gosh!
Next week would be a house divided.
Oh my God!
He's gonna have to pick a side and roll with it. But so that'll be interesting. So we'll see. But I appreciate you. I appreciate all the plugs you give the newspaper, and just local journalism. I think you've been able to kind of give me a little bit of a voice to be able to say how important this is and how important it is when we do kind of spend the resources to go on the road and to cover this team every day. And I appreciate you for that. And also just for being Jay Recher,
It's how we roll, baby. One of the best things about covering this Lightning team is the people that we cover it with. So you are certainly one of those people. And maybe we can get a jersey for either of maybe we'll get a stadium series. Oh man, hey Coop, first question at 5:30 today. Hey, I don't know if you knew anything about this, Coop, but I think our jerseys got lost in the mail. It's ENCINA ERLENDSSON LOUX and RECHER. Just to let y'all know, that's how it's spelled.
So I think we're just not quite influencers. You know what I mean? I think we're not John Gruden. We're not.
Jeez, we're not the random TV station. Oh God, dang it, Ed, you're the best. I appreciate it, man. I'll see you tonight.
All right, buddy. See you later. Thanks.
All right, buddy. See you. Our good friend Eddie Encina from the Tampa Bay Times. Support local, man. Support local. I can't stress that enough. To support our friends at the Tampa Bay Times. Stroud, Topkin, Ed, Joey, John, Colleen Wright, everybody. We love our friends over at the Tampa Bay Times. I'm an old school newspaper guy, and I'll be a newspaper guy till I die. So no doubt about it. All right. No more excuses for a guy like Josh Grizzard. I want to talk some Bucks and talk some USF before we wrap up here. Josh Grizzard has been a guy that we didn't really bat an eye when he was promoted to offensive coordinator because of what we've seen and at that position get progressively better from Byron Leftwich to Dave Canales to Liam Cohen to, what we thought was going to be a guy that was going to be able to have some continuity because he was there in those meetings and he's been with this team. And he's also had experience, even though he's a young guy, very smart dude, but he was able to, learn some things down in Miami with Mike McDaniel and the crew as well. But I think it's just been inconsistent. I think it's been up and down for Josh Grizzard, and he knows that. Again, when we say things like this on the program, We're not saying anything that I don't think these guys don't know when we're calling them out that they need to do better. And again, it's not personal. But Josh Grizzard is another one of those guys where you look at what you have right now. You got Tristan, you got Graham, you got Gedeke, you got Bucky, Rashad, and Sean Tucker. You got all 4 receivers for the first time. We were hoping that at some point we were going to see these 4 wide receivers on the field together. And I think some point in the middle of the season, we didn't think it was going to happen. Well, it's here. We've already seen one game, and now we're going to see it again this weekend in Carolina against the Panthers in the biggest game of the season for Tampa Bay. No more excuses. No more. 3rd and 1, 4th and 1, call the right play. You got to get that yard. You got to get Mike Evans and Chris Godwin involved early and often. If Emeka Booger's your guy in the end zone, in the red zone, put him in. If Devin Culp is the guy you want to utilize in the tight end spot in the red zone more, do that. I don't want to hear the ride the hot hand shit. I was saying about it before. I don't want to hear about hot hands. I want Bucky Irving on the field. No more hot hand discussion. The best players on offense for the Buccaneers need to be featured prominently on Sunday against the Carolina Panthers. I don't want to hear anything more about a hot hand. I want Bucky Irving. I want Baker Mayfield. I want Mike Evans. And I want Chris Godwin to step up and play a huge part in why this team wins the game on Sunday. Josh Grizzard, offensive coordinator. Everybody's been praising him going into the season because of the continuity, because he's a young, smart, intelligent coach. All right. You've had all season long to learn about this offense. And now you're as healthy as you're going to get. No more excuses. Fire the cannons. Put these guys in a position to succeed. And put 30 points on the board these last 3 games. No more. No more excuses. All right. And lastly, we'll talk some USF. The Cure Bowl, unfortunately, come up a little bit short yesterday against Old Dominion in the Cure Bowl. It was just it was so weird because, Byram's on the sidelines. Singleton doesn't play. That wasn't USF. That wasn't the USF football team from 2025. It just wasn't. And I know a lot of people were unhappy with what they didn't see from Alex Golesh as far as no type of message, no type of good luck until after 1:00 a.m. last night. I think it was 1:10 where he finally sent out something on social media about, I'm so proud of these guys and this and that. Golesh, and I know there's some people unhappy with this, where Alex Golesh did not say anything about the fans, didn't say anything about the local media. It was all about the team and the leadership. It's over. It's over. It's in the past. And I'm telling you what right now, Byron Brown is not coming back to USF. I don't know that for sure. It doesn't make any sense. Young man, I don't know what your prospects are going to look like in the National Football League. Somebody's going to throw a boatload of money at you from one of these big conferences. Go get the bag. This could be the most money you ever see in your entire life. You did everything possible to help this USF program get to that next level. I am not hanging my hopes on Byron Brown being the starting quarterback for USF next year. And that's why I'm telling you all right now, go out there and turn the page. Turn the page. This is a new age for USF football. And it's not going to start until Brian Hartline's done with Ohio State. But turn the page. Alex Golesh is in the past. Byron Brown, I think, is going to be in the past. A lot of these players are going to be out. Don't look back. Look forward. All gas, no brakes. You hear what Rob Higgins has said. Forward, forward, forward. Don't look back. It's over. Turn the page. I'll answer this for you, pal. I would start Lamar Jackson against the Patriots. Stafford, no Devontae Adams against Seattle. You can't go wrong either way. You got 2 good quarterbacks. But I always think for fantasy-wise, because Lamar is always going to give you a little bit extra with the running, that can always help you. And it depends on some of these leagues that you play in where your passing touchdowns are 4 instead of 6 and rushing touchdowns will always give you 6. I like Lamar Jackson. I would probably go with him. Michael says Bucky is averaging 3.5, White 4.2, and Tucker 4.1. Yeah, but that's just one stat, Mike. That's only one stat. And Bucky's your main guy. Bucky's your number one guy. You got to feed him early and often. Feed that guy, utilize him in the backfield. You haven't given him an opportunity to really get some run to be able to build that up. It's not always what happens when it comes to average yards per carry, because it's not just about him being a factor in the running game. It's him catching the ball out of the backfield. We've seen a couple of big plays with him. Remember the long touchdown down the left sideline earlier this year. Bucky Irving is the most dynamic play caller that you have. I'm not worried about what's happened the last couple of weeks. I'm worried about going forward. Again, we look so much in the past, and that's why when you rely on numbers too much, you're talking about what has already happened. I'm talking about going forward. Things need to be better. You need to get him more involved early and often and stop going away from Bucky. Utilize him. Lean on him. Why the hell is he your lead tailback if you're not leaning on him? I don't want to hear the hot hand thing anymore at all. Bucky Irving, Rashad White, Sean Tucker, you got 3 good options, but Bucky's number 1. He's RB1. I want to see more of Bucky Irving Sunday against the Carolina Panthers. All right, that's going to wrap it up for me, guys, here at Benchmark International Arena. Here, remember, Lightning Kings tonight. Make sure you follow me on all social media platforms at Recher. A big thank you to Dr. Carlos Rodriguez for joining us on the program. A big thank you to Eddie Encina for joining us on the program. And, of course, to Honest Hammer Custom Builders, LLC, for all your residential and commercial needs. 813-244-0956. They are the best. He's a Team Tampa Bay guy, just like you, a USF grad. We love Russ and our whole crew over there at Honest Hammer. Tell them that you heard it right here on the Jay Recher podcast. Get yourself a discount. They also have discounts for first responders as well. And the Evara Health Injury Report with Dr. Rodriguez. He is the man. EveraHealth.org, 17 different locations in the Tampa Bay area. Tell them that you heard it right here on the Jay Recher podcast. I wanted to show love. Look at Rolly in the house. Another great segment talking about Dr. Rodriguez. Thank you, Jay. Merry Christmas and go Bucks. Thank you, Rolly. This is how we're going to keep the show going, man. It is our super chats like Rolly and Eddie, and then our partners as well. Hopefully we can get a bunch of super chats tomorrow. It is our last show of the year. It is our top 20 sports stars of Tampa Bay. We will go through the list. Who is number 1? Who's number 20? Who was on the list last year that wasn't on this year, and vice versa. A lot to get into on the program. Again, at Jay Recher on all social media platforms. Like and subscribe on YouTube. We're less than 40 away. We got to get to 2,000 by the end of the season or the end of the year. We got about, 13 days. 13 days to get about 35, 36 more. Do whatever you can. Subscribe to the channel. I love you all. I appreciate the support. Go Bulls, go Bolts, go Bucks, raise up, all that stuff. We'll see you tomorrow live at noon at the home studio for the final show of the year. It's the Jay Recher podcast.